Hello everyone, I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate, and if not, I hope you're having a wonderful end of the year holidays, eating good food and playing good games. It's what I'm doing anyway, but it's been a while since we've made a GPU versus comparison type of video, and today I wanted to compare my RTX 4090 versus my 7900 XTX in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle in a few different scenarios, just out of curiosity. So let's begin.
Good luck, Indy.
We're going to be using a Ryzen 9800X 3D CPU for both GPUs, and we're going to look at the jungle level, Vatican City, and another part of the Vatican City. But we're going to focus on 4K for this video, native TAA, path tracing disabled, obviously, but everything else is maxed out. And this is the Steam version of the game, which I was given a code by Nvidia for a purpose of review for this. So thanks to Nvidia for giving us a code. It does help out. And yeah, let's start with the jungle level. And we're going to have the RTX 4090 on the left and the 7900 XTX on the right. So what I did on this run was make my way up to the very first cutscene, but not engage in it. And then I went back to where we started a couple of times. The reason why is because cutscenes are locked to 60 FPS, and I just wanted to have a consistent measurement of our averages and 1% lows. And if we were to compare those, on the 7900 XTX we ended up with 80 FPS average, and for 1% lows we ended up with 73 FPS average. And on the 4090 we ended up with 109 FPS average, which is 136% relative performance versus the 7900 XTX. And for 1% lows, we ended up with 95 FPS, which is 130% relative performance of the 7900 XTX on the 4090. So this is kind of about what you would expect normally, but what makes this kind of interesting is that the game does have ray trace global illumination by default, and that is maxed out here. So I would say the 7900 XTX is doing pretty well, actually. I don't know if maybe it's because the ray tracing in the game has been optimized to work well on the Series X, and maybe that carries over. I don't know. But if we move over to the Vatican City, things get a little bit interesting. Now here what I did was I went around the courtyard and then made my way to the checkpoint, which is currently on our left. And what we ended up with on the 7900 XTX was 89 FPS average and 79 FPS 1% lows. It's pretty good for native 4K. And on the 4090 we had 112 FPS average for a 126% relative performance of the 7900 XTX. So it dropped from the jungle, which was 136% to 126% here. Now the jungle is one of the most demanding areas in the game that I've seen so far, and based off what I heard, seems to be the case as well. With the 1% lows though, we had 87 FPS on the 4090, so that shrunk all the way down to 110% relative performance versus the 7900 XTX. So can't be denied that the 7900 XTX 1% lows here are pretty nice. The frame time is a bit tighter. Now yes, you will see a little bit of a stutter on both GPUs, and that happens whenever there's an autosave. You can't escape that. And this isn't really an AMD advantage, I must say, because some people that say that, because I've tested this game on my 6800 XT as well, and I kept getting like a consistent hitch on that GPU. But on the 7900 XTX, it's actually pretty clean. The frame time is very clean. It's a lot tighter if you were to look at average FPS versus 1% lows on both current GPUs. So yeah, very nice showing for the 7900 XTX here. But let's go look at Vatican City at night. Well, this part here, you're probably familiar with it if you've played the game at all. It's the second level after the jungle. Well, after the college, to be realistic. But here, the 4090 cut up, and we got very similar numbers and advantages that we saw in the jungle. So with the 7900 XTX, we ended up with 82 FPS average and 70 FPS 1% low. So it is fairly comparable, if not almost exactly like the jungle for the 7900 XTX. And then on the 4090, we ended up with 110 FPS average, which was very similar to the jungle. So that is 130 4% relative performance of the 7900 XTX in favor of the 4090. And for the 1% lows, we had 90 FPS on the 4090. That is 129% relative performance of the 7900 XTX. So it's more or less identical to what we saw in the jungle. So I'm not sure why Vatican City that gap shrunk a little bit, but again, it's going to depend from game to game and area to area, I guess. So I guess to give my final conclusion about what I've seen here is the 7900 XTX does really well. This has been at native 4K and the game looks amazing and it runs really well. Actually, it ran pretty well on my 6800 XT as well and the 3080 Ti. We did have some frame time issues on the 4090 with the game when it first launched, and Nvidia released a hotfix patch, which is what I'm running right now, 566.45, and the game runs really smooth now, as it should have in the beginning. But, you know, stuff happens. As long as it gets addressed, which it did, it's very nice. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'm waiting to see is FSR being added into the game. And then maybe we can take a look and see how DLSS and FSR compares. And if frame generation is added as well, that would be even more interesting. I would like to see full ray tracing or path tracing settings be available to use on Radeon as well, even though I don't think it's going to really be playable based off my comparisons I've done previously looking at path tracing on the 7900 XTX. The 4090 becomes like 3 to 4 times faster in those scenarios. So I don't think it would really matter, but for the case of, I guess from an academic perspective, I would like to test it and just to see how it runs. And you never know, maybe RDNA 4 will be really good in ray tracing. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I would like to see that as well, if possible down the road. That would be nice. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Give the video a like if you liked it. It really helps out a lot. And consider subscribing if you want to see more content. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, rest of the year, and enjoy the holidays and have fun and be safe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.